From the Church of the Philadelphian, welcome to Knowing the Holy Bible for Yourself, with your host, teacher, and correctionist, Wayne Thomas.
Hello. Welcome to Knowing the Holy Bible. Knowing the Holy Bible, we're going to make sure that you know the Holy Bible and you know it for yourself. You know all of the chapters and the verses, the scriptures and the stories, and you know them for yourself. Okay, I'm your host, your teacher, and your correctionist, Wayne Thomas. And today, I open my videos saying that you are going to know the Bible for yourself. And this is very important because some of you out there have heard all kinds of different things and stories and things about the Bible, things that you heard that was supposed to be in the Bible. It ain't even in there. But all these different things, I refer to myself as a correctionist. The reason why I do that is because that's my job. When the things that you may have heard of or things whatever, and they're not correct, my job is to show you the correct thing that's going on. To correct some of that foolishness that's out there. That said, today's message, whoa. There are two things they're not in the Bible, but there are things that human beings took the Bible and made them the most foolish things. One of them, well, actually both of them, but one more so. One of them has been taught down through the centuries, from the first century till now. And at first, when I first heard it, when I was first learning the Bible and all that, it went over my head. I didn't pay too much attention to it because I didn't know that there was a whole story out there about that. What am I talking about? And there are two different things. This is one of them. This is so-called Nephilim or the Nephilim or whatever, Nephilim or Nephim or whatever it is, whatever that thing is called. Okay. When I was first learning the Bible, I heard, I didn't pay attention to nothing like that. But then as I started learning the Bible and I heard about this Nephilim and this whole thing that happened in the Bible about these giants and all this stuff and these, whatever, I'll get to all that in a second. And then once I really learned the Bible and really started getting in, the Lord started revealing his word to me so that I could start, get ready for you guys. Then I realized, oh, no. No, you don't. Mm-mm. But the weird part about it is, again, this was taught down through the centuries. Down through the centuries. From the first 100 years of the modern times, the Dark Ages on. And I couldn't believe it. And then when I read the actual scriptures that they got this foolishness from, so I'm bringing all that to you today. And this is a perfect example of me being a correctionist, correction of foolish thing that was taught hundreds of years and sent down through the centuries. Churches, religions, everybody else believe in this foolishness. All right. I'm going to be reading to you this Nephilim foolishness. I'm going to be, they got their ideology and they made it their little thing on the Nephilim. I hope I'm saying it right, Nephilim or Nephilim or whatever it's called. They took it from the Holy Bible, chapter 6. Now, chapter 6 is where, here's right in the beginning of it, this is where it says that God repented that he made man, because man had gotten so wicked. Now, remember on a video I told you about Genesis and the beginning of the Bible and all that, and I tell you how in chapter 3, Satan tricked the man and woman and opened up that door to death. And I said only 3 chapters later, chapter 6, the world is so bad that God repented that he made the earth, made man. So I'm not earth. He repented that he made man. He was sorry that he made man. And then he found Noah and told Noah, because Noah found favor in God's sight. And the Lord told Noah, get thee up, built this ark because there's going to be a flood. Well, right before that in chapter 6, it opens up with these other words heading towards God telling Noah to get the ark ready. All right, this is chapter 6. This is where this Nephilim foolishness is. And I'm going to read it slow so that you can really see how this is supposed to go, what's there, how it's supposed to go, and the foolishness, how man then turned it around to try to make their little Nephilim ideology work. Okay. Now, first of all, let me give you a little idea about the Nephilim, with the supposed Nephilim story. Supposedly, angels were supposed to see women down on the earth and get really enticed, get tempted by them and really like them. And they go down there and get them and pick whatever ones they want, have sex with them. They have children, and the children turn into be these giants. These giants. Okay. All right. I'll say that again just in case. Some of you might have said, what? Just in case. I'll say it again. Supposedly, according to the Nephilim that they created, angels saw these women on earth, liked them, wanted them, went down and got them, had sex with them, pick whatever they want, whoever they wanted, had sex with them, and gave them children. And these children turned out to be giants. Okay? Okay, that said, now let's read what happened. I'm going to read it slow, and I'm going to show you how what this is all about. This is Genesis chapter 6, verse 1. And it came to pass when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were bore unto them, the sons of God saw that the daughters of men, and that they were fair, in other words, beautiful. And they took them wives, all which they chose. The Lord says, my spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he is also flesh. I am spirit, and they are flesh. Remember that. Okay. And yet his days shall be 120 years. Then here's verse 4. There were giants in the earth in those days. Here's 4 words that they changed around and worked it in so that they can make their Nephilim foolishness try to take hold. And also after that, when the sons of God, those angels supposedly, came unto the daughters of men and bare them children, those children became mighty men, which were of old, men of renown. That's it. Now, first of all, let's find out who the sons of God were. In order to find that out, I'm going to go all the way to the New Testament, to the book of Mark. Luke. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Matthew, Mark, Luke. I'm going to Luke chapter 3. Okay? Chapter 3, verse 23. Chapter 3, verse 23. Now, I'm not going to read this because it's too long, but I'll tell you exactly what it is. This is the genealogy of Jesus. It starts with, it says here, chapter 3, verse 23, and Jesus himself began to be about 30 years of age, being as was opposed the son of Joseph, which was the son of Heli, which was the son of Mattat, which was the son of Levi, which was the son of Melchi, which is the son of Janna, which was the son of Joseph. which was the son of Matthias, which was the son of Amos, which was the son of Nahum, which was the son. In other words, Jesus' lineage going back. And it goes back, and it goes back, and it goes back. And the next thing you know, we go all the way back to David. And it's going from Jesus all the way to the beginning of the Bible. We get to Jesus, we get to David. Now we're out in the New Testament, we're in the Old Testament. David's dad was Jesse. Jesse's dad was Obed. Obed's dad was Aminadab, and it goes on back. Keep on going back. And his dad, and it goes all the way back. Let's say it goes back to Abraham. Abraham's dad was Terah. Terah's dad was keep going back. It goes back to let's say, for example, it goes all the way back to Noah. Noah's dad was Lamech. Lamech's dad was Methuselah. And keep on going back. Okay, I'll read that last one. I'll read the last one because it's not so long. And this would be Noah's lineage. Noah's, who was the son of Lamech. Lamech was the son of Methuselah, which was the son of Enoch, which was the son of Jared, which was the son of Mahalalel, which was the son of Canaan, which was the son of Enos, which was the son of Seth. Remember, Adam and Eve had Cain and Abel. Then they had another son, Seth, which was the son of Seth, which was the son of Adam, first man on this earth, which was the son of God. Holy Bible. There's your sons of God. Now that said, now let's go back on up here to chapter 6 to talk about this foolish Nephilim. Who did I say foolish? Okay. Now, and then I got to tell you something else about the so-called giants and what happened with them later on. I'll get to that in a second. Apparently, these sons of God was still kind of doing things with our Father or our Savior. They were still doing things. You got to figure from Adam to Noah, that's only a few thousand years. Maybe 2,000 or 3,000 years. On top of which you have to consider these men were living, people were living 800 years, 900 years, 1,000 years. You know what I mean? So these, and this would be somebody's grandson, great-grandson, whatever, Seth's grandson, great-grandson, great-great-grandson. And they were still doing things in the presence of the Lord. Now, meanwhile, they're super highly respected amongst the other regular people, men and women, regular people. You know what I mean? Like these guys, they were highly respected because they were still doing things with the God. I'm assuming that they were still doing things with the God of Abraham. You know what I mean? Because you're talking in the first few thousand years of the earth, and I put in one of the videos how they were still seeing stuff. They were still seeing things going on in the skies with the heavens and hearing things, whatever. So, you know what I mean? But these grandsons, great-great-grandsons of these first men of the earth, they were still doing things with the Lord. And he was talking to them. At one point he says, my spirit is not always going to be with y'all because I'm spirit and you guys are flesh. You know what I mean? But you'll live to 120 years. You know what I mean? And stuff. And again, they were highly respected. And at some point, they decided, hey, man, they're starting to, and people were, men and women on the earth, regular people were having children, and a lot of daughters were being born. And they were like, these guys, this hierarchy were like, hey, you know what I mean? They were looking at these women and realizing not only their beauty, that they're fair, they're beautiful, but they can have families with them. And they went down to have families with them. And the women, of course, were like, yeah, you know what I mean? Because you're going to have children, first of all, in this great line of patriarchs and so forth that came first to this earth. That's the first thing. And also, your children, especially if you have sons, they're going to grow up have this great respect. They're in this great line of hierarchy, kind of like line of things of people who came to this earth with the great respect. and they're going to grow up to be great men, men of renown. Okay, and that's all that is. That's all it is. Okay, I want to point out something else here. It doesn't say. Okay. Remember I said in verse 4, it says there were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them, the same became mighty men, which were of old, men of renown. It doesn't say when the sons of God came into them, and they bore children, and the children turned into giants. It doesn't say that. The giant statement was even before all of this. Then here's verse 4. There were giants in the earth in those days. There were giants in the earth in those days. You're talking about before Noah. The giants you're talking about, they're talking about dinosaurs and that type of animal. The dinosaurs and massive, large dinosaurs. Now, I know you scientists. I know you came up with your own ideas and stuff and said that the dinosaurs were billions and billions of years, billions of years ago and stuff. And this, that, and the other. And a great, what was it? A great light or something killed them, or whatever. And foolishness. Anyway, but now there's more to this little foolishness. I read a book somewhere. I can't even remember what the name of it was, but I read a book somewhere where supposedly, when I was doing my Nephilim homework, I read a book on the Nephilim where supposedly the Nephilim, these giants, apparently what they did was they were upset. They became giants, and they were upset at their parents. This is not in the Bible. This is homemade foolishness, okay? Make sure you understand that. These giants were upset at their parents' discipline and whatever, so they would kill them and destroy them and make them slaves, kind of like, and taught them, or shall I not say taught them, but they made them make these weapons for them. And then when I was reading, I was like, well, okay, what about the flood? Because the flood's the next thing that's getting ready to happen. What about the flood? It couldn't be like there's going to be this thing happened and they got time to turn into giants and they got time to grow up and they got time for their parents to make these weapons and all that. And then sometime later on, the flood finally comes rolling around. It says right here, okay, let's see what's after that last man of renown. Okay, but same became mighty men, men of old, men of renown. That's 4. Here's verse 5. Verse 5. And God said that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and he will do every imagination and thought of the thoughts of his heart, and they were all evil continually. And here's what it says, that God repented. It repented the Lord that he had made man on the earth, and it grieved him in his heart. And the Lord said, I will destroy man who I have created on the face of the earth, both man and beast and the creepy things and the fowls of the air, and it repented me that I have made them. But Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord. And then it goes into talking about Noah's sons. Okay. There's one more thing that I want to add to the whole Nephilim theory. Okay, so there are people out there who know their Bible or know a little bit more, have a little bit more biblical knowledge and stuff. And some would ask me about another book in the Bible that refers to the Nephilim and stuff, and so they think, okay, and that is in the book of Jude, okay, a letter to Jude. That's in the New Testament. Paul wrote a letter to a person named Jude, and in that book, there's a reference in there regarding angels or something like it there, and we're going to address that right now. Okay. This is in Jude. This is from Jude, which is in the New Testament. Jude chapter 5, verse 1. I will put in the remembrance, though you once knew this, how the Lord, having saved the people out of the land of Egypt, afterward destroyed them that believed not. Now here's the part where they talk about the angels that's connected to the Nephilim situation. And the angels that kept not their first estate, but left their habitations, he hath reserved in the everlasting chains under darkness unto the judgment of the great day. Okay? Now, this is really weird because now remember, we're talking about the Nephilim and the whole ideology or theory of the Nephilim, whatever it's called. Okay, and some people say that these angels here had something to do with the angels in the Nephilims in Genesis chapter 6. Okay, talking about the giants, yeah. Anyway, but there's a few mistakes here. I mean, there's a few issues here that they didn't take into account. Like, for example, I'm going to read that again. It says, I will put in the remembrance, though you once knew this, how the Lord, having saved the people out of the land of Egypt. Now, whoa, this is Egypt. This is Moses and the children of Israel coming out of Egypt. You know what I mean? Coming out of Egypt, afterward destroyed them that believed not. Okay, now that I'm assuming that if he's talking about Moses and the children that came out of Egypt, they made it across the Red Sea, and now they're in the wilderness and all that. And those who believe not, he's talking about Dathan and Abiram. Okay, and Dathan and Abiram were they were Jewish. They were part of the Jewish people. Traveling with Moses and them coming out of Egypt, and they were they had got a little reputation. They were well known as troublemakers, giving Moses and the children, Moses, Aaron, and Joshua, and the children of Israel, giving them a major problem. We know that Dathan, they were the ones that came up with the golden calf. They did that when when Moses went up to get the 10 Commandments. They came up with the golden calf, and then those other little incidents, the times when they kept wanting to. One of the big issues with them, Dathan and Abiram. One of the big issues was that they always wanted to go back and revert back to Egypt. Okay, because you got to figure they're out here in the wilderness. There's no water, there's no food, and we're going to find out how the Lord's going to bless them with all those things in a minute. But while they were traveling, these two, and they probably had a whole lot of folk around them that was, agreeing with them and stuff, and they got a little following going on and stuff. And then one time, a lot of times Moses, they would rev up the crowd, and we're going back to get food and to get water and different things. We're going back to Egypt, you know what I mean, and stuff. And when they would do that, Moses would take it to the Lord. Lord, please, forgive these people. You know what I mean? These rebels down in the camp. You know what I mean? Because you know what I mean. And the Lord would be so angry with them. Woo! The Lord would be so angry at them. But Moses would stand and talk to the Lord and say, Lord, please, please remember these people. Please please forgive them and stuff. And then the one time came when they decided we're going back, And they started all going back, and all the people and everybody started kind of heading back, or they got a much larger crowd to go back. And Moses took it to the Lord, and the Lord said, not this time. You know, and these people had to be punished. And surely enough, that's when the Lord, you know, opened up the ground and swallowed up Dathan and all of them, you know, and they all were killed. And Abiram and them. So he had to punish them, you know, and stuff. And that was pretty much Dathan and Abiram. Okay. And I'm assuming that's who he's talking about. Okay. Remember, we're still talking about these angels and the Nephilim and all that. Okay. Now, and in that case, and it says, and the angels that kept not their first estate, but left their habitation, and he had reserved in the everlasting chains of under the darkness until the judgment of the great day. He's talking about the angels he's talking about here are not angels. He's talking about people. And again, the first people who came to the earth, the first people that populated the earth. Now, it's important to know here that there's something else that's going on in the middle of all this, and it might be in this prophecy, that the people who came to this earth first, before the flood, the people who came to this earth before the flood, as I read in the Bible, certain places, there's something that's going to happen with them. It's like they're going to have their own type of judgment and their own type of problem in judgment and all that. It's going to be super horrible for them because they were the first to this world, and they were and they brought evil into the world, and that opened up, and they opened up the door to death. You know what I mean? And all the things that came with that, especially once they opened up that door, and all the things that came with it, Cain killing Abel, the spirit of murder now in the world. You know what I mean? And you're talking about the spirit of murder. You're talking about every war, every single war, every type of murder ever, whatever the murder way it came. You know what I mean? Or people dying. That's what I should say. People dying, and dying from not natural causes, but dying from another person killing them. In any situation ever, whatever it is, all came from Cain killing Abel. Now we're talking down all the way down to if this world ends with nuclear bombs and whatever, that all came from the spirit of murder from Cain opening that door. The spirit of murder. Okay, so all of this and that and all the sin and all the evil and all of those the things that they brought, you know what I mean? All the evils, the trillions and trillions of different little evil spirits of evil that we all know in this world today, all came from these people who came to the world first. So they're going to have a special judgment and a special horrible situation. That said, that's who the angels he's talking about, who left their first habitations. You know, that's what he's talking about. Okay. Okay, now I guess the bottom line of it is, in regards to the angels, supposedly angels in the story in the book of Jude. Okay, the really basic bottom line is that what he was saying is that the children who came out of Egypt. I'm sorry, when they came out of Egypt, and from the Red Sea on into the wilderness and all that, there were people who were kind of against everything, and that would be Abiram and that would be Dathan, of course, and they were like rebel rousers and going against everything that God had going on with Israel. Okay, and they were being rebellious. Okay, and basically what he's doing, he was reminding Jude Paul writing this letter to Jude, he was reminding Jude that just like those people rebelled with coming out of Egypt with Moses, that was similar to the people a long time ago in the first part of when the world was here before the flood, how they rebelled against God and lost their first estate with our Father. And he was just basically making a comparison. Just like they did that in those people who are doing these things with Moses and them, and are similar to the angels who lost their first estate a long time ago in the first part of the earth. That's basically all that is. Okay? Has nothing to do with giants or giants in the Nephilim and all of that. Okay? All right. Okay, so in regards to the Nephilim, that's why I brought all of this to you. You know what I mean? To make sure that you understand this, stories like that. If you look on your internet, you know what I mean, and look at the Nephilim and what is the story behind the Nephilim, every blog, every report is about these fallen angels, those sons of God. Now they become fallen angels because they were fallen because they had sex with these women. and their children, of course, were these giants that grew up to be these giants, and they were rebellious and Okay, so these are the kinds of stories and things that are going on, and this is why it's so important that you know what really happened in that Holy Bible, and the Lord, the God of Abraham, will reveal to you, and you'll see, you know what I mean, that this has nothing to do. That's nothing in the Bible at all. Okay, so anyway, you can put your comments below. Let me know what you think, and you take care. Got some good ones coming up. A wonderful video on the story of Moses, and I'm gonna put some special things in there. I think you will enjoy. You take care, okay? God bless.
You've been watching Knowing the Holy Bible for Yourself with your host, teacher, and correctionist, Wayne Thomas. Please remember to subscribe to our channel to receive new videos teaching you the Holy Bible in its entirety so that you can know the Holy Bible for yourself.